Imagine getting 47 warnings that your house is about to explode. 47. And you just keep watching Netflix. That's exactly what happened in Henderson, Nevada. Except it wasn't a house. It was a chemical plant storing enough rocket fuel to delete an entire city off the map. May 4th, 1988, 1:03 p.m. What happened next would become the most expensive industrial disaster in American history. Not because of what exploded, but because of every single decision that led up to it. And the craziest part? Every single warning was documented. Let me tell you about the company that literally had a countdown to catastrophe written on their wall and chose to ignore it. Pacific Engineering and Production Company, PEPCON for short. Sounds boring, right? Just another industrial company with a forgettable name making, wait for it, ... rocket fuel oxidizer. Let me break that down real quick. You know how fire needs oxygen to burn? Rockets in space don't have oxygen, so they carry their own. That's what PEPCON made, concentrated solid oxygen that makes things go boom. The same stuff that launched the space shuttle. They were storing 8.5 million pounds of it in the middle of the desert. It's 10 miles from Las Vegas. What could possibly go wrong? January 1988, 3 months before disaster. A safety inspector named Roy Westerfield writes a report. I've read this report. It's terrifying. Not because of what it says, because of how casual it is. Significant fire hazard present. Improper storage of oxidizer. Recommend immediate remediation. You know what PEPCON did with this report? Filed it, just ... stuck it in a drawer. But Roy wasn't done. Dude sent another report in February, then another in March, each one more urgent. The last one, dated April 27th, 1 week before the explosion, literally used the words, catastrophic failure imminent. PEPCON's response? They promoted the manager who was saving them money by not fixing the problems. I'm not making this up. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The employees knew. Oh man, did they know? Workers started calling in sick, like a lot. Absenteeism went up 400% in April. 400%. These weren't lazy employees. These were people who could smell death coming. One welder, Steve Gibson, straight up quit 2 weeks before the disaster, his exit interview. This place is going to blow and I'm not going to be here when it does. HR marked him down as not eligible for rehire. May 4th, 1988, 11:30 a.m. A batch of oxidizer gets contaminated with oil. Now, remember, oxidizer plus anything flammable equals really bad news. The floor supervisor, Bruce Hawker, calls management. We need to evacuate and call hazmat. Management's response? How much would that cost? Bruce says about 50 grand. Keep working. We'll handle it next shift. 90 minutes later, that $50,000 decision would cost them $100 million. 1:03 p.m. A small fire starts. Not even a big fire, just a little baby fire that a standard extinguisher could have handled. Except, you can't use standard extinguishers on oxidizer fires. You need special equipment. The exact equipment that 3 different reports said they needed to buy, the equipment they didn't have. The fire spreads to the first barrel of oxidizer, then the second, then the third. At 1:07 p.m., workers are running, not evacuating. Running sprinting through the desert in 104-degree heat because they know what's coming. 1:09 p.m., the first explosion. Windows shatter in Vegas, 10 miles away. People think it's an earthquake. 1:11 p.m., the second explosion. This one's different. It says 7 million pounds of rocket fuel saying hello to the atmosphere. The shockwave was visible, like you could see the air moving. Cars flipped on the highway. Buildings just ... stopped existing. The mushroom cloud reached 20,000 feet. Pilots reported it to air traffic control as a nuclear explosion. The freaking president was notified because everyone thought Vegas just got nuked. Here's the miracle, though. Only 2 people died. 2. In an explosion that registered as a 3.5 magnitude earthquake. You know why so few people died? Because everyone who could read the writing on the wall had already left. The smart ones quit. The brave ones called in sick. The only ones left were management and the new guys who didn't know better. But wait. It gets worse. After the explosion, investigators found something that made everyone's blood run cold. Pepcon wasn't just ignoring safety warnings. They were actively hiding them. They found a secret filing cabinet. Inside, 231 safety violations, documented, photographed, dated, and stamped with nadir action required by management. 231. Each violation was supposed to be reported to the feds. None were. That's 231 federal crimes just sitting in a filing cabinet. But here's the smoking gun. 3 days before the explosion, Pepcon's insurance company tried to cancel their policy. Said the place was uninsurable due to safety concerns. Pepcon's lawyers threatened to sue. The insurance company backed down. Those lawyers saved Pepcon millions in insurance premiums, right before they needed $100 million in insurance payouts. The congressional hearing was brutal. They brought in the plant manager, John Gibson. This exchange is real. Mr. Gibson, how many safety warnings did you receive? I don't recall. Would 47 refresh your memory? I don't recall. What about this email where you called safety inspectors panic artists? I don't recall. Dude didn't recall 186 times in one hearing. That's a new record. But then they brought in the evidence that ended everything. A memo from Gibson to the board of directors, dated 1 month before the explosion. Safety improvements would cost $2.3 million. Potential fine for non-compliance is 1 no mo K. Recommend paying fine. He did the math, and the math killed 2 people. Here's what really gets me, though. The city of Henderson had been getting complaints for years. Residents saying they smelled chemicals. Their pets were dying. Plants wouldn't grow. The city's response? Pepcon is our biggest employer. Can't afford to lose those jobs? Well, they lost them anyway, along with 37 homes, 98 businesses, and 2 human beings who showed up to work not knowing their boss had literally calculated that their lives were worth less than $2.3 million. The lawsuit findings were insane. Pepcon knew for 18 months that a catastrophic explosion was probable. It's not possible. Probable. They had done their own study. Their own engineers said, this will explode within 2 years without improvements. That study locked in the CEO's personal safe. They spent more money hiding problems than it would have cost to fix them. The lawyers, the cover-ups, the hush money to inspectors' final tally was $3.8 million. Remember the fix? $2.3 million? Spent $1.5 million extra to stay dangerous. But here's the kicker that nobody talks about. Pepcon wasn't some rogue company. They had government contracts, NASA contracts, Department of Defense contracts. Every single one of those contracts required safety inspections. Federal inspections that somehow never happened. You want to know why? Pepcon was buddies with Senator Jake Garn. You know, the senator who controlled the budget for the agencies that were supposed to inspect them. Funny how that works. After the explosion, they found something that still makes me sick. A betting pool. The managers had a literal betting pool on when the plant would explode. The winner got $500. The guy who won, he'd picked May 7th. He was off by 3 days. These psychopaths were betting on when their own employees would die. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Gone. Dissolved. Executives charged with criminal negligence. But here's the thing. They just reformed under a new name. It's Western Electrochemical Company. Same people, same practices, different logo. They operated for another decade before another accident shut them down for good. The 2 employees who died, Rodrigo Martinez and Gerald Smith, Rodrigo had just had a baby. Gerald was 2 weeks from retirement. Both had complained about safety. Both were told to stop being negative or find new jobs. They stayed because they needed the money. That decision cost them everything. So what's the lesson here? Companies don't ignore warnings because they're stupid. They ignore them because they've done the math. Your safety versus their profits. They've already decided which matters more. Every industrial disaster follows the same pattern. Warnings ignored. Workers silenced. Profits over people. Explosion. Thoughts and prayers. New company name, repeat. The only difference is how many zeros are on the check they write to make it go away. Pepcon paid out $100 million in damages. They made $400 million in the 3 years before the explosion by cutting safety costs. They came out ahead. They won. And right now, today, there are hundreds of PPCONs out there. Same warnings, same ignored reports, same betting pools on when it'll blow. Pepcon. The only question is whether you're working at one of them. Check your workplace. Check the exits. Check the safety reports. Because when management starts saying it's too expensive to fix, what they're really saying is, you're too expensive to save. And if you see something, say something. Document everything. Email yourself copies. Because when it blows, and it always blows, the only people who pay the price are the ones who couldn't afford to quit. Rodrigo Martinez couldn't afford to quit. Gerald Smith was too close to retirement. They're not here to tell their story, but their ghosts are screaming at you right now. The job ain't worth your life. The paycheck ain't worth the risk. When your gut says run, run, drop a comment if you've ever worked somewhere that felt dangerous, somewhere that ignored warnings, somewhere that chose profits over people. Because I guarantee every single person watching this has a story. The question is whether you got out before it was too late. And if this pissed you off the right way, if it made you think about what your company might be hiding, share it. Someone in your life needs to see this. Maybe it'll make them ask the right questions. Maybe it'll make them update their resume. Maybe it'll save their life. Next week, the hospital that knew its equipment was killing patients turned up the voltage anyway. Stay safe out there. And remember, no job is worth becoming a statistic.